So in today's video, I'd like to give you a little bit of a review about the Zonestar 3D printer. I'm gonna be making a video about what type of quality you can expect from the Zonestar, and I've owned this printer for about 6 months now, so I thought it would be a great time to do a little review and show everybody what you can expect when you open the box, when you start to unpack it, what comes with the Zonestar printer, and we'll go through some of the pros and cons about owning this, because in my future videos, I'll be using this Zonestar 3D printer to produce all my little parts and pieces for my projects. First of all, what comes with your printer when you open the box? Well, actually, you get quite a few things with your printer when you first open the box. Alright, so my favorite of all is the fact that they give you 2 kilos of PLA plastic. I got blue and pink. You may get different colors depending on where you order it, but it's quite nice to know that when you open the box, you already have some filament that you can use from day one. Alright, the second thing that I really like is that they give you a micro SD card. This is an 8GB micro SD card with USB converter, and this allows you to print directly from your printer instead of printing through the USB cable, which ties up your laptop. Makes your laptop stay here, and you can't transport it to another room or something like this. So if you save your files right here onto the SD card, you're able to bring your laptop wherever you'd like. Another thing that they give you all the tools that you need to put your printer together. So they give you the cotter keys, some extra bolts, screws. So when you get done and you have some extra screws and nuts left over, don't worry about it because they give you some extra. Alright, they also give you a screwdriver. There's only one part on the printer that you really need the screwdriver for, but they still give it to you, and it's quite handy. Alright, another thing that I really like are these little clippers. They work great for snipping off extra pieces of filament, something that's hanging down, or from the extruder, or off from your print. They're quite handy, and I really like them. Last but not least, they also give you this plastic stand. This is just used for a roller for your filament. So there's a little PVC roller that goes in here, and your filament just spins around on it while your printer pulls it in. Okay, now a little bit of information about the manufacturer of this printer and what you can expect when you first open the box. Alright, so the manufacturer of this printer has a name that's quite a mouthful. It's Shenzhen Zonestar Innovation Technology. Shenzhen is the name of the city in southern China in which this printer is produced. It was founded in 2012, so for 3D printing, it's actually not that new of a company. This is a Prusa i3 clone. So originally it was a Czech manufacturer, Prusa i3, and now this is produced in southern China. And you can get it for a little bit cheaper because it's a clone. What can you expect when you open your box of your new printer when you first get it in the mail? Well, actually, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have a lot of pieces and parts to put together. But don't get intimidated by that. It's really easy to put together. They even have an instruction manual right on the SD card that they give you. So, right on this little micro SD card, they give you all the instructions you need to put the printer together. It took me about 3 to 4 hours in between work. I was in no rush, and I was still able to get it together and start trying to print with it in about 4 hours, something like this. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons associated with this printer. So, personally, I really like this printer, and overall there are no major issues with this printer. I haven't had any major issues with it, but I'd like to go through, see what some things that could use improvement, or maybe it could be a little bit better. But so first of all, I really like the price range. This is starts out around $190, and you can get yourself this metal frame like I did for $230. So the reason I got the metal frame is that I believe that with it being metal, it's a little sturdier, and maybe it stays put a little bit better when this extruder is going back and forth. So I thought, well, it'll dampen some of the vibration, and you know, it'll keep things still. So I thought that would be a good decision. You can get yourself with the plastic frame again, like I said, for $190 and get yourself started. So that's really great. I also like the ease of putting this thing together. It took me 3-4 hours. I didn't need any manual with it. I just, you know, put pieces here and there, and well, it seems to be working out well for me. Alright, now some of the little cons, and there aren't that major, at least not for me. But first of all, one of the pains that I always seem to have is, well, about a couple months ago, about 2 months ago, one of the wires here that is used to heat the bed disconnected. And I believe it's because the bed got too hot, maybe because the thermometer here fell out of the place, because this is what makes it so your bed doesn't overheat. Well, anyway, one of the wires disconnected because it must have melted the solder. So I resoldered it, and it did it again. So I can't seem to be able to keep the wire connected using solder, so I have to get some maybe higher grade solder used for higher temperatures or whatnot. But until then, I came up with a little rather crude fix, but just temporary, is this giant paper clip you see here. It just pinches the wire right onto the bed and keeps the connection going. And it works, and I have still this huge space here to print on, so it really doesn't get in my way that much. Alright, so that's one little con that I didn't like about it. Another is that this extruder motor here seems to keep biting the plastic. Usually it snaps in about 24 hours, so if you leave it overnight and you come back, it usually looks like this. And I don't understand, usually it snaps here. This time it snapped just out here, so it's probably not even to do with the extruder motor, just because of brittle plastic. And when you switch to ABS, it doesn't happen at all. That's just a small annoyance. Let me see, what else do I have a little issue with? When I print with the USB cable, this right here, not all the time, but sometimes it switches into idle mode, which basically means that the printer stops halfway into its print. And it continues again, and then it stops, and then it continues again. But what happens is that every time it stops, it's still extruding plastic, and you get these little like pimples on your project. So that's kind of annoying, but it's easy to fix. If you just save all of your files to your SD card and print directly from the SD card, you shouldn't have any problems with it. And again, it doesn't happen on all my prints. It happens maybe 1 out of 10. So it's not a big issue. I still use the USB cable from time to time as well. Alright, well, there are lots of other benefits and pros and cons to it, I'm sure, but you'll find out for yourself. In my opinion, those are the most major, or the things that I've experienced anyway. In conclusion, I would just like to say that for this price, you can't really beat this printer. I highly recommend it for you to get started with 3D printing. If you're more, of a professional and you've done it before, then maybe this isn't the printer for you. You'd like something with more features and functions. But if you're just getting yourself started, I really suggest this. For that price, you can't go wrong. But don't get discouraged, if you start printing and some of your first prints look like this one, for example. Now this is one of my very first prints done with this Zonestar printer. And as you can see, it's really bad. The lines are so spaced out that there's almost no flat surface here. This is the type of printer that you need to play around with. If you want something that just comes complete out of the box, ready to print, then this is not the printer. If you play around with it, you can get prints that look something like this. This is maybe only within about a week I was able to get quality prints of the same tank that I was printing just before, looking like this. Again, I recommend this printer to you if you're on a budget and you want to get started. It's really great. It's been working well for me, and I haven't had that many problems with it.